Her reflection ghosted against the star-filled void beyond. The research vessel Curiosity hung suspended in space, its weathered hull telling stories of 1,000 scientific missions across the cosmos. But today, it wasn't stellar phenomena or quantum anomalies that held her attention. It was the approaching constellation of artificial stars, the Zarkax battle fleet. 50 ships confirmed, Captain. Lieutenant James Rodriguez reported from his station, his voice steady despite the news. All Ravager-class destroyers. They're maintaining their current vector. Sarah nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the distant lights. After 15 years commanding a research vessel, she had memorized every creak and hum of her ship. The Curiosity's gentle vibration beneath her feet felt different now, less like the purr of scientific equipment, and more like the trembling of a creature aware of approaching predators. "Status of the quantum resonance scanner?" she asked, finally turning to face her crew. The bridge, designed for scientific research rather than combat operations, held only 5 of her 14 crew members. Each face showed the same mix of determination and barely concealed anxiety. Dr. Maya Patel looked up from her instruments, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Operating within normal parameters, Captain. All modifications from last month's stellar core study are still in place." The physicist's voice carried a hint of something more, a subtle emphasis that would mean nothing to anyone monitoring their communications. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Those modifications had nothing to do with stellar cores. Rather, they were the result of countless sleepless nights spent theorizing how to repurpose their research equipment for something never intended by its designers. The Zarkax, in their arrogance, would never suspect that a simple research vessel could pose any threat to their mighty fleet. "Engineering reports all systems nominal." Chief Engineer Marcus Wong's voice crackled through the comm. "Though I'd feel better if we had more than emergency power reserves for the primary systems." "Noted, Marcus. Keep those reserves ready. We might need them sooner than we'd like." Sarah moved to the central platform, where a holographic display showed their position relative to Proxima. The colony, humanity's last successful extrasolar settlement, gleamed like a blue jewel against the red dwarf's angry light. 3 million souls lived on that world. 3 million humans who had escaped Earth's growing instability to build something new. Now they faced extinction at the hands of an alien empire that saw their very existence as an affront to their claimed dominion over this sector of space. "Message from the colony, Captain," Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka announced, her practiced calm cracking slightly. "They're asking about evacuation protocols." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Tell them to maintain current status. No evacuations." The words tasted bitter, but she knew they were necessary. Any large-scale movement now would only draw the Zarkax's attention faster. She returned to the window, watching the enemy fleet grow larger with each passing moment. The Curiosity sensors were already gathering data on their approach vector, shield configurations, and energy signatures. Every scrap of information could mean the difference between success and annihilation. "Dr. Foster," Sarah called out to their youngest crew member, "start running those sensor sweeps we discussed. Full spectrum, just like we practiced." Amelia Foster, fresh from the quantum physics program at Mars University, began the scans without hesitation. Her youth belied a brilliant mind that had already revolutionized several aspects of quantum field theory. Now that same mind was being put to a very different use. The bridge fell silent save for the soft beeping of instruments and the ever-present hum of the ship's systems. Sarah felt the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. Her crew of scientists and researchers had trained for discovery, not combat. Yet here they were, about to attempt something that would either be remembered as humanity's greatest victory or its final stand. The Zarkax fleet drew closer, their ships now visible as more than mere points of light. Sarah squared her shoulders and took her place in the command chair. "All hands," she announced shipwide, "prepare for contact protocol Alpha. Whatever happens next, I want you to remember, we're not just a research vessel anymore. We're humanity's last line of defense. and we will not fail. Appeared on their long-range sensors. He had been running standard maintenance on the quantum resonance scanner when his calibration tool slipped, causing an unexpected energy surge. Most engineers would have simply corrected the error and moved on. But Marcus had spent 20 years learning to listen to machines, and something about the scanner's response caught his attention. "Captain," he called over the comm, his voice carrying the quiet excitement she had learned to recognize. "Could you come down to engineering? There's something you need to see." Sarah found him surrounded by holographic readouts, his normally tidy workstation cluttered with diagnostic tools. The quantum resonance scanner, their pride and joy for deep space research, hummed with a slightly different tone than usual. "Look at this," Marcus pointed to a particular energy pattern. During the surge, the scanner created an interference pattern I've never seen before. It's like it's resonating with shield frequencies, but at a quantum level. Sarah leaned closer, her scientific background helping her grasp the implications. "Show me the data again." Marcus replayed the surge event. The scanner's energy output rippled across the display, creating complex patterns that reminded Sarah of wave interference in a pond. But these waves weren't disturbing water. They were disrupting the very fabric of space-time. "If we could replicate this effect on a larger scale," she began, "and tune it to specific shield frequencies," Marcus continued. They shared a look of understanding. It wasn't just a maintenance anomaly they were seeing. It was a possibility, perhaps their only possibility, of survival. Over the next 3 weeks, the Curiosity's crew worked in carefully orchestrated shifts. To any outside observer, they appeared to be conducting routine scientific surveys. But beneath that facade, every department contributed to their desperate plan. Dr. Amelia Foster worked with Marcus to refine the scanner's output. Her quantum field equations filled entire holographic spaces, plotting the complex interactions between the scanner's energy and various shield configurations. The young physicist's hands shook with exhaustion, but her calculations never wavered. "The key is in the harmonic resonance," she explained during one late-night session. "The Zarkax shields operate on a quantum level, using principles similar to our scanner. If we can match their frequency exactly, we can create a cascade effect." Sarah finished. She had been dividing her time between the bridge and engineering, helping where she could while maintaining their cover of normal operations. Lieutenant Rodriguez coordinated with Dr. Pottle to gather every scrap of data about Zarkax shield technology from their previous encounters. Each piece of information refined their understanding, revealed new possibilities. "Their standardization is their weakness," Maya noted, highlighting patterns in their shield configurations. "Every ship in their fleet uses identical systems. They value uniformity above all else." Even Yuki Tanaka from communications proved invaluable, her expertise in signal processing helping them mask their modifications from routine scans. "We're hiding in plain sight," she said with quiet pride. "They'll see exactly what they expect to see, just another human research vessel." The work was dangerous. Twice they had to power down completely to avoid detection by passing scout ships. The modified scanner threatened to overload their power grid during testing, forcing them to repair delicate systems while maintaining absolute secrecy. Sarah watched her crew push themselves beyond exhaustion, yet not one complained. They knew what waited on Proximab: their families, their homes, their future. Some, like Marcus, had children in the colony. Others, like Amelia, had left everything they knew on Earth to pursue discovery among the stars. Now they worked to protect both their past and their future. Standing in engineering, watching Marcus make the final adjustments to their modified scanner, Sarah felt a fierce pride in her crew. They had transformed their ship of discovery into humanity's best hope for survival, armed with nothing but intelligence, determination, and an accidental discovery born from a drop tool. "It's ready, Captain," Marcus announced, closing the scanner's access panel. "Or as ready as it's going to be." Sarah nodded, knowing that somewhere out there, the Zarkax fleet was approaching, their commanders confident in their superior technology and overwhelming numbers. They would never expect their carefully standardized shields to become their greatest vulnerability. "Well done, everyone," she said, looking at her tired but determined crew. "Now we wait." Their silver hulls catching the light of Proxima Centauri. Sarah watched through the main viewport as they arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern, a display of precision that would have been beautiful if it wasn't meant to intimidate. Preliminary scan results coming in. Maya reported from her station, her fingers moving across multiple holographic displays. 53 ships total. All Ravager-class destroyers, just as our intelligence suggested. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The Zarkax were nothing if not predictable in their military doctrine. Every ship maintained exact distances from its neighbors, creating a three-dimensional lattice of overwhelming firepower. Their formation was textbook perfect, which was exactly what she had been counting on. "They're scanning us," Yuki announced, her voice tight but controlled. "Full spectrum analysis." "Let them look," Sarah replied, allowing herself a small smile. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." Thanks to Yuki's signal processing expertise, the Curiosity appeared to be exactly what it claimed to be, a research vessel continuing its scientific mission, its crew seemingly unaware of the danger bearing down on them. Every scan the Zarkax performed gave them more data about their enemy's systems. "Shield harmonics are exactly as we predicted," Marcus reported from engineering. "They're using their standard configuration, quantum-aligned defensive matrices, all synchronized to the same frequency." Amelia's voice joined in, excitement barely contained. "The resonance patterns are perfect matches to our simulations. Their standardization protocols haven't changed at all." Sarah moved to Maya's station, watching as the sensor data painted a detailed picture of their opponents. The Zarkax's rigid adherence to military doctrine was legendary. Every ship in their fleet had to maintain identical specifications, from the arrangement of their crew quarters to the frequency of their shield harmonics. It was a philosophy that had served them well in countless battles, allowing for seamless coordination and rapid repairs. "Look at this," Maya highlighted a particular reading. "Their shield network is actually more integrated than we thought. Each ship's defensive system is linked to at least 3 others, creating a redundant power distribution network." "Can we use that?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Oh yes," Maya's grin was fierce. "When our modified scanner hits their shields, the cascade effect will propagate even faster than our original calculations suggested. Their own power distribution network will carry our attack from ship to ship." Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up from Tactical. "Captain, they're moving into their final assault positions. Standard Zarkax encirclement pattern." The enemy ships flowed into new positions with practiced grace, forming concentric spheres around the Curiosity. It was their favorite tactic, surrounding their prey completely, leaving no avenue for escape. The Zarkax believed in absolute victory, in demonstrations of overwhelming force that would be recorded and broadcast across their empire. "Time to contact?" Sarah asked, returning to her command chair. 7 minutes at current speeds, Rodriguez reported. "They're taking their time, making sure their formation is perfect." Sarah watched the tactical display, noting how each enemy ship adjusted its position down to the meter. The Zarkax commanders were probably congratulating themselves already, expecting this to be another easy victory for their logbooks. "All departments, status report," she ordered. "Engineering ready," Marcus replied. "Scanner modifications are holding stable." "Science stations prepared," Maya confirmed. "All sensor arrays are calibrated and recording." "Communications standing by," Yuki added. "Our channels are clear and ready." "Tactical systems online," Rodriguez finished. "Though I doubt our point defense lasers would even scratch their paint." Sarah allowed herself a moment to appreciate the irony. The Zarkax had approached with overwhelming force, expecting to find a helpless research vessel. Instead, their perfect formation and standardized systems had given the humans exactly what they needed: a detailed analysis of their weaknesses and the ideal circumstances to exploit them. "They're preparing to broadcast," Yuki announced. "Standard surrender demand incoming." "Everyone remember," Sarah said, her voice carrying to every corner of her ship. "No matter what happens in the next few minutes, hold position and maintain normal research vessel protocols. Let them think they have us exactly where they want us." She settled back in her chair, watching the enemy fleet complete its elaborate encirclement. Of standardization and efficiency, they were about to learn that sometimes the greatest weakness can be found in what you consider your greatest strength. Amelia Foster's hands flew across her console as new data streamed in from the approaching Zarkax fleet. The young physicist's eyes darted between multiple holographic displays, each showing different aspects of their modified scanner's predicted performance. A warning light flashed red, drawing her attention to yet another power surge in the quantum field matrices. "Marcus," she called over the comm, "we're seeing harmonic instabilities in the primary scanner array. The containment field is fluctuating." "I see it," Marcus replied from engineering, his voice tight with concentration. "We're routing power through the secondary systems. Dr. Patel, I need you to adjust the quantum field alignment by 0.3 degrees. Maya's fingers danced across her own console. "Adjusting now." "But Marcus, if we keep pushing the scanner like this." "I know," he cut in. "The whole system could overload. But we don't have a choice." Sarah watched her crew work, proud of how seamlessly they coordinated despite the mounting pressure. The Curiosity had never been designed for what they were attempting. Every system they'd modified was being pushed far beyond its safety limits. "Captain," Rodriguez called from Tactical, "the Zarkax fleet is maintaining their approach vector. 4 minutes until they reach optimal firing range." A sudden spark erupted from one of the engineering panels, accompanied by the sharp smell of burning circuitry. Marcus cursed softly as he rushed to contain the damage. "Power surge in Grid 3. Amelia, I need those calculations now." Amelia's voice was steady despite her obvious exhaustion. "The quantum resonance pattern is holding, but our power infrastructure wasn't designed for this level of energy manipulation. Every time we test the modified scanner, we risk burning out essential systems." Sarah moved to Amelia's station, studying the complex equations filling the young physicist's displays. The mathematics behind their plan was elegant in its simplicity. Use the Zarkax's own shield harmonics against them, creating a cascade failure that would ripple through their entire fleet. But translating that theory into reality was proving desperately challenging. "Show me the latest simulation," Sarah requested. Amelia brought up a holographic representation of their planned attack. In the simulation, the modified scanner's quantum pulse struck the nearest Zarkax ship's shields. The energy pattern propagated through the standardized shield network, growing stronger as it jumped from ship to ship, until... There, Amelia pointed to a critical moment in the simulation. "If we can't maintain perfect quantum coherence at this point, the cascade effect fails. And right now, our power systems are too unstable to guarantee that coherence." Another alarm blared through the ship. Maya's voice carried a note of urgency. "Temperature warning in the primary coolant system. We're pushing it too hard. Reroute coolant from life support to the scanner arrays," Sarah ordered. "We can survive a few degrees warmer if we have to." "Captain," Yuki interrupted, "we're receiving the first warning broadcast from the Zarkax fleet. Standard intimidation protocol." The alien transmission filled their speakers. "Attention, human vessel. You have entered restricted space. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction." Sarah straightened her uniform. "Send no response. Let them think their transmission was lost in space noise." Marcus's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, I think we have a solution for the power problem, but you're not going to like it." "Go ahead." "We can stabilize the quantum field by routing all power through the main reactor, including our emergency reserves and life support backups. It would give us one perfect shot. He paused. But if it fails, we'll be dead in space. Sarah looked around her bridge. Every crew member had heard Marcus's suggestion. Every one of them understood what it meant. If their modified scanner didn't work exactly as planned, they would be helpless before the Zarkax fleet, their ship powerless and vulnerable. How long would it take to implement? She asked. 3 minutes to reconfigure the power grid. Maybe less if everyone helps. The tactical display showed the Zarkax fleet drawing ever closer, their ships arranged in their perfect, predictable pattern. They had one chance to get this right. Do it, Sarah ordered. Everyone to their stations. We're about to find out if our science project can become a weapon. An emergency crew meeting in the ship's mess hall. Time was precious, but she needed everyone to understand what they were about to attempt, and what it would mean. The modifications are complete, she began, looking at each crew member in turn. The mess hall's soft lighting cast shadows under their tired eyes. But before we proceed, you all need to know the full implications of what we're about to do. Maya stepped forward, bringing up a holographic display of the Zarkax fleet. Each of those ships carries a crew of approximately 200. Our modified scanner won't just disable their vessels. The quantum cascade will overload their neural interfaces. The effect will be... She paused, searching for the right words, immediate and absolute. A heavy silence fell over the room. They had all known their plan would result in casualties, but hearing the numbers made it real. 10,000 lives would end in an instant if they succeeded. Marcus spoke up from where he leaned against the wall. We're not the ones who chose this fight. They came to our system, threatened our colony. His voice was firm, but Sarah could hear the weight in it. My daughter is down there on Proxima. So are a lot of other children. There's something else you should know, Amelia added, her young face serious. The power requirements for this plan. We'll have to divert everything, including life support. If the cascade effect doesn't work exactly as calculated, we'll be trapped here. No power, no distress beacon, no chance of rescue. Lieutenant Rodriguez straightened in his chair. Better to go down fighting than surrender to the Zarkax. We all know what happened to the Europa colony. Nods around the room. The Zarkax didn't take prisoners. They made examples. I studied their technology for years, Maya continued. Their neural interfaces are mandatory for all military personnel. It's part of their standardization protocol. No exceptions, no individual variations allowed. That's what makes them vulnerable to our plan. But it also means... She trailed off. It means they won't have a chance to evacuate, Sarah finished. Once the cascade begins, their cybernetic systems will transmit the overload faster than human reaction time. Yuki, who had been quiet until now, raised her hand. Can we offer them a chance to retreat? A warning. Sarah shook her head. The moment they realize what we've modified our scanner to do, they'll open fire. We'll lose our only advantage. The room fell silent again, broken only by the gentle hum of the ship's systems. Through the mess hall's viewport, the red dwarf star cast its perpetual twilight over them. Somewhere out there, the Zarkax fleet was closing in, their commanders probably already composing victory messages to their superiors. I won't order anyone to participate in this, Sarah said finally. If anyone wants to use the escape pod, now's the time. I'll understand. Dr. Chen, their medical officer who had been quietly listening, stood up. Captain, I think I speak for everyone when I say we're past the point of turning back. We're a research vessel. Our mission has always been to advance human knowledge and protect our species' future. Today, we're doing exactly that. One by one, the crew nodded their agreement. They were scientists, engineers, and researchers who had never sought combat, but they were also humans, protecting their homes and families with the tools they knew best: intelligence, innovation, and the courage to venture into the unknown. Very well, Sarah acknowledged, feeling a fierce pride in her crew. Return to your stations. Maya, start the final calibrations. Marcus, begin power redistribution. Amelia, double-check every calculation. We only get one shot at this. As her crew filed out, Sarah caught snippets of their conversations. Personal messages recorded for family members. Quiet words of encouragement exchanged between friends. She heard someone humming an old Earth song, its melody haunting in the dim light. They had 2 minutes left before the Zarkax fleet reached their position. 2 minutes to prepare themselves for an action that would either save humanity's colony or end in their own destruction. Sarah took one last look at the stars through the viewport, then headed for the bridge. It was time to make history, one way or another. Encirclement. Sarah watched the tactical display, where 53 red dots arranged themselves in perfect symmetry around their position. The enemy's formation was flawless, and exactly what they needed. Final power transfers complete, Marcus reported from engineering. All systems are now running through the main reactor. Emergency reserves standing by for the scanner activation. Maya's voice was clipped and professional. Shield harmonic analysis confirms our targeting solutions. Their standardized frequencies are locked in. The main view screen showed the nearest Zarkax vessel, its silver hull gleaming against the starfield. The ship was beautiful in its way, sleek, predatory, and utterly confident in its superiority, designed by a civilization that valued uniformity above all else. They're broadcasting again, Yuki announced. Full spectrum, all channels. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. Human vessel Curiosity. I am Fleet Commander Ixel of the Zarkax Empire. Your reputation for scientific achievement has reached our ears. Surrender now, and your research data will be preserved in our archives. Resist, and you will be reduced to atoms. Sarah nodded to Yuki. Open a channel. The communications officer's fingers danced across her console. Channel open, Captain. Sarah stood, straightening her uniform. Everything hinged on the next few moments. Fleet Commander, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the research vessel Curiosity. We are engaged in critical scientific observations of Proxima Centauri's magnetic field fluctuations. Perhaps we could discuss. Your studies are irrelevant. Ixel interrupted. This sector belongs to the Empire. You will power down your systems and prepare for boarding. We are detecting unusual energy readings from your vessel. Explain. Amelia's hands froze over her console. Maya held her breath. But Sarah had been preparing for this moment. Our quantum resonance scanner is rather sensitive, she replied, letting a note of academic enthusiasm enter her voice. The stellar phenomena we're observing require precise calibration. If we power down now, we'll lose months of valuable data. A pause. Sarah could almost see the Zarkax commander's mandibles twitching in irritation at dealing with obsessive human scientists. You have 5 minutes to secure your data, Ixel declared. Then you will power down. The Empire's patience is not infinite. The channel closed. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Status. They've adjusted their formation slightly, Rodriguez reported. 3 heavy cruisers moving to optimal boarding positions. Perfect. Their standard protocol for civilian vessel acquisition. Maya. The movement actually improves our firing solution, the physicist confirmed. Their new positions will enhance the cascade effect by 12%. Sarah moved to Amelia's station, where complex quantum calculations filled multiple screens. How long do you need? 3 minutes to fine-tune the scanner's resonance frequency, the young physicist replied. We'll only get one chance at this. Engineering status. Marcus's voice was steady. Power grid is holding, but only just. Temperature in the main reactor is approaching critical levels. We need to do this soon, Captain. Sarah returned to her command chair, feeling the subtle vibrations through its frame. The Curiosity had never been meant for this kind of operation. Every system was straining against its design limitations. But like her crew, the ship was rising to challenges its builders had never imagined. Tactical, "Plot me a course," she ordered. "I want us positioned exactly 7,000 kilometers from their command ship when we initiate." Rodriguez's fingers flew over his console. Course plotted. Minimal thrust to avoid drawing attention. "We'll reach the position in 2 minutes, 40 seconds. "They're scanning us again," Yuki reported. "Standard pre-boarding protocol." "Let them look," Sarah replied. "They'll see exactly what they expect. A research vessel preparing to power down. Maya, start transmitting the surrender sequence." "Transmitting now." Low power signals, just like a civilian ship would send. The bridge fell silent save for the soft beeping of instruments. Every crew member knew their part in what was to come. Years of scientific training, months of preparation, and countless sleepless nights had led to this moment. Sarah watched the distance counter tick down. The Zarkak's fleet hung around them like a net of stars, their formation perfect, their technology standardized, their victory assured. They had no idea they had just helped position themselves for their own destruction. The Zarkak's fleet loomed on all sides, their ships forming a perfect sphere of destruction around the small research vessel. Through the view screen, Sarah could see their gleaming hulls reflecting Proxima Centauri's red light. "Position locked," Rodriguez announced. 7,000 kilometers from their command ship. "Holding steady. Power levels at maximum," Marcus reported from engineering. "The reactor's pushing way into the red zone, Captain. We can't maintain this state for long." Sarah took a deep breath. "Maya, begin the surrender sequence." The physicist's fingers moved across her console with practiced precision, initiating power-down signals, making it look like we're preparing to accept boarding parties. On the tactical display, Sarah watched several Zarkak ships adjust their positions slightly, moving into their standard docking formation. Everything about their movements was predictable, programmed, perfect, just as they'd counted on. "They're responding," Yuki called out. "Fleet Commander Ixel is hailing us." On screen, the Zarkak's commander's face filled the view screen. Like all his species, his features were symmetrical to the point of artificiality, the result of generations of genetic standardization. His metallic scales gleamed under his bridge lights. "A wise decision, Captain Chen," Ixel said, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. "Prepare to receive boarding parties. Your research will serve the greater glory of the Empire." Sarah stood, allowing a slight tremor to enter her voice. "We request time to secure our more sensitive equipment. Some of our experiments are quite delicate." "Your time is up," Ixel cut her off. "We detect your power systems beginning to shut down. Prepare for immediate boarding." The channel closed. Sarah's trembling hand steadied. Status of their shields. "They're lowering them sequential by section," Maya reported, excitement creeping into her voice. "Standard boarding protocol, just as we predicted. Their entire command and control network is opening up to accept our surrender." "Amelia?" The young physicist's eyes were fixed on her quantum calculations. "Scanner is aligned perfectly. The resonance frequency will match their shield harmonics exactly when they reach 30% power." "Marcus?" "Ready to redirect all power to the scanner on your mark." "But Captain," he paused, "once we start this, there's no going back. If it doesn't work." "It'll work," Sarah said firmly. Then to her entire crew, "Everyone, secure yourselves. This is going to get rough." The Zarkak ships drew closer, their formation tightening. On the tactical display, their shield strengths were dropping in perfect synchronization, a choreographed dance of technological precision that was about to become their undoing. "Shields at 40%. Maya counted down. 35%. Sarah gripped her command chair. "Amelia, prepare to initiate the quantum pulse. Marcus, stand by for full power transfer." 30%. Maya called out. Sarah's voice cut through the tension. "Now." Several things happened in rapid succession. The Curiosity's lights dimmed as every scrap of power flowed into the modified scanner. A high-pitched whine filled the ship as the quantum resonance chamber spun up to speeds it was never designed to achieve. On the view screen, a barely visible pulse of energy erupted from their bow. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the nearest Zarkak ship's shields flared brilliant blue. The energy pulse had found its frequency match, creating a cascade of quantum interference that raced through their standardized shield network. Ship after ship lit up as the effect propagated, each vessel's defensive systems amplifying the pulse as it passed through their identical configurations. Energy cascade spreading exponentially. Amelia shouted over the growing vibration. Their whole network is going into overload. The Curiosity shuddered as waves of feedback washed over them. Through the view screen, they watched as the mighty Zarkak's fleet began to go dark. First dozens, then hundreds of systems failed simultaneously across their formation as the quantum cascade tore through their standardized technology. The perfect sphere of enemy ships dissolved into chaos, their identical systems falling victim to humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to turn uniformity into vulnerability. Faded away. Outside their viewports, the mighty Zarkak's fleet drifted lifeless against the star-filled backdrop. 53 ships, each a marvel of standardized engineering, now served as a monument to the danger of perfect uniformity. "Damage report," Sarah called out, her voice hoarse from the tension. "Main reactor stabilizing," Marcus reported from engineering. "We're running on emergency power, but the systems are holding. The modified scanner is, well, it's completely burnt out, Captain. We'll never use it for research again. A small price to pay." Sarah thought. "Casualties." Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm. "Minor injuries only. Some bruising from the feedback wave, but nothing serious. We got lucky." Tactical analysis. Sarah turned to Rodriguez. The lieutenant studied his displays intently. No power signatures from any Zarkak's vessel. Their standardized systems transmitted the overload through their entire command and control network. They're completely dark. Maya's hands moved across her console, gathering data. The quantum cascade worked exactly as theorized. Their neural interfaces, it would have been instantaneous. They never felt a thing. The weight of what they accomplished settled over the bridge. In a single moment, a research vessel crewed by scientists had defeated the most powerful fleet in this sector of space, not through superior firepower or military might, but through observation, innovation, and the courage to attempt the impossible. "Message from the colony," Yuki announced, her voice brightening. They're asking if we need assistance. They can see the Zarkak's fleet has gone dark." Sarah smiled. "Tell them we're operational but could use some help with cleanup. And Yuki, let them know their homes are safe." A cheer went up from the crew. The tension of the past weeks finally broke, replaced by the pure joy of survival and success. But Sarah noticed Amelia standing quietly at her station, staring at the quantum calculations still floating on her screen. "Something on your mind, Dr. Foster?" The young physicist looked up. "I was just thinking. We've changed everything, haven't we? Not just today's battle, but the whole way space warfare works. The Zarkaks built their empire on standardization, on the idea that perfect uniformity creates perfect strength. And we proved them wrong," Maya added, joining them. "We showed that diversity, the very thing they tried to engineer out of their society, can be the greatest strength of all." Sarah nodded. "Our ship succeeded because we had physicists thinking like tactical officers, engineers working with theoretical mathematicians, and everyone willing to look at problems from new angles. The Zarkaks never stood a chance, not because we were stronger, but because we were different," Marcus finished, having made his way to the bridge. "Each of us bringing our own perspectives, our own ways of thinking. That's humanity's real advantage out here among the stars." Through the view screen, Sarah watched as the first rescue ships approached from the colony. They looked tiny against the backdrop of the massive Zarkax vessels, but they moved with purpose and confidence. Already, she could imagine the reports spreading across human space, how a single research vessel had turned the enemy's greatest strength into a fatal weakness. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "Colonial Command is asking for a full report on the battle. They want to know exactly how we did it." Sarah looked around at her crew, tired, proud, and forever changed by what they'd accomplished. Tell them that the Curiosity lived up to its name. We came out here to explore, to learn, to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Today, we did exactly that. We just pushed those boundaries in a way nobody expected. The red dwarf's light painted the bridge in warm hues as the crew began the long process of documentation and recovery. Their modified scanner was destroyed, but the principles they'd discovered would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. The Zarkax Empire would rebuild, but they would never again underestimate a human research vessel. And somewhere in the vast archives of human achievement, a new entry would appear: how curiosity, diversity, and the courage to innovate had achieved what no amount of military might could accomplish. The Curiosity had lived up to its name, and in doing so, had written a new chapter in the story of humanity among the stars.